Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to KTV Sky Channel 711. This is Young, Sikh and Proud. My name is Jaspreet Kaur, and today we're going to be discussing a documentary that was released by a mainstream media outlet earlier this week, and it was all about Sikhs in Britain, and we're going to be getting responses from others here in the studio with us today, and we're also going to be talking about the positive things happening in the Sikh British community.
Before we begin, I just want to read out a legal clause. The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the speakers or presenters, do not necessarily reflect nor constitute the views and opinions held by KTV. KTV is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the completeness of the information provided. If you have a complaint about something or find your content is being used incorrect, please contact KTV prior to making a claim. Okay, so before we begin the show, this week there's been some tragic news in Pakistan where Jathedar Harmeet Singh became shaheed, and he was the heartbeat of the Naujawan across the globe. Everyone he sat and spoke to, he inspired. So a heartfelt from us and the whole audience here and at KTV, you know, everyone just try and share the posters. There's a Khandpat Sahib for him starting tomorrow at Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Gurdwara in Coventry. Everyone try and come down, pay your respects. There'll be a smargam on Saturday night. So, you know, a massive, the amount of seva that people do behind the scenes for the Panth that people don't realise, and you only realise after. And that will be some of the things we'll be discussing today, but, you know, just and I want to say this because watching the documentary that came on mainstream media last night, we want to just highlight a few things that were mentioned, and this is from a protester's perspective. And there was 2 protesters put on a national TV media screen, and they were fake protesters. They weren't authentic. I was a protester myself, and at the time I was also arrested, so I can completely say on a legal term that we know each and every individual that protested that day. They were British-born Sikhs, 55 that arrested. Anyone outside of those 55 were bystanders. They were not protesters. They did not have the leaflet that was given to them by the protesting teams, and at the time everyone who was arrested, all 55, had a leaflet in the pocket. The police, when arrested those 55 people, they could clarify who those people are. So we would, from the protester side, they would like to say, this is a collective decision which I'm making to say on KTV right now, that at the end of the day, those protesters weren't authentic on mainstream media, and there will be complaints going in, because this isn't right to portray protesters who were peacefully doing seva for the Panth in a negative manner, and the words they used wasn't correct. So, you know, that's from the protesters' point of view. And a key point about this, and I want to bring Jaspreet into this, you know, people automatically presume that the education part of Sikhi in Sikh activism isn't part of the protesting side or the activism side or the Khalistan side. And today in this show we're going to show you how it's all interlinked and connected, and how the activists in the UK are all connected and all stand on the one Panthic sword. And there's a short video I want to show you, and I hope the gallery team have got this ready, and it's before we begin this show, because it shows that some of the work of a great legend in the UK called by Jagraj Singh, who started Everything 13. Now he stood, people have said, and they've said on mainstream media, that he wasn't part of the protest. He was a key figure in the Morche, and he was a key figure in the education department of it and the protest. And I'm going to show you why. And in this video it shows in Leamington Gurdwara, he rang me while we were protesting, and he made sure on the outside that he backed the protesters, and this video here clearly shows that.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sangat Ji, you've seen today in the press, Daily Mail, Express, Independent, The Guardian, all these are sharing articles about armed police, armed protesters at a Sikh temple, storming the Gurdwara, and the police are there, armed police are there to supposedly bring order. Now the thing is really important to understand here is that if you look at the video of the protesters, which is on the Sikh Youth Birmingham page, what you see is a bunch of Sikhs just wearing normal Sikh clothing. They haven't got any axes or swords or whatever with them. So What actually I think has happened here is a bunch of Sikhs are wearing a legally allowed kirpan, and they are now being portrayed in the media as being Sikhs that are armed and carrying bladed weapons. Now this has really bad implications for Sikhs anywhere going for any kind of legal protest or peaceful protest, because then straight away, just the fact that they're carrying a kirpan, which is actually a legal right for us, we're going to get defamed all over the media as carrying bladed weapons. So I ask all of you to protest against the police and the media for spreading these malicious rumours which have defamed the Sikh community across the UK, and to turn up to your local police station at 5 p.m. today and just turn up like a normal Sikh, especially if you're Amritari carrying a kirpan, and say that you'd like to have a peaceful protest outside the police station regarding what happened in Leamington today, and then say, well look, I'm carrying my kirpan, which is a legally allowed right of mine, arrest me. Call the police. It's a bladed weapon for what you've described to the media, so go ahead and arrest me, and go ahead and call the armed police on me, and see if they do that. If they don't do that to you there today, like we're going to do today at Southwood at 5 p.m, go to the police station on Broadway. If they don't call the armed police on you, they don't arrest you for carrying your legally allowed kirpan, then how come they were defaming us today all over the media in Leamington? So please bear that in mind, that this is a really serious issue. It's not just about whether you agree with your Anandakar or not. It's a defamation of the kirpan, which is one of the Panch Kakars given to us by Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. And I ask a benti from all of us at Basic Sikhi and everybody else, please turn up today to your local police station. But the police were defaming the Sikhs as being armed protesters. The statements they gave to the press have now been published in the Mirror, the Mail, the Independent, the Guardian.
Okay, so you've just seen a video from Bhai Jagdar Singh from Everything 13, who was in support of the Morche, and he wanted to make a difference in the UK. Educationally, he was trying his best online. You saw the video yourself, how he was in support and how he went at the front line and stood and protested himself. He put his neck on the line to stand out and try and educate people. And you can see him educating police officers what's right and wrong about Sikhi. And you know, let's just go on to some of the stuff that he's just done. And if you see how it was all interlinked with all the UK, now we've got a great audience here, all from different organisations, Naujawan organisation, which is fantastic. It's the first time I think a lot of different Naujawan have travelled from up north, from down, even from California. We've got guests in the audience, so it's fantastic. We've got a wide range and variety of organisations who are doing a lot of work, not just in the UK, but internationally as well. So I'm going to bring Benji in and she will introduce some of the audience.
Yeah, so we've got a great audience today. I'm going to be asking someone who is actually shown in the documentary a question first. Shamsher Singh. Shamsher is a co-founder of the National Sikh Youth Federation. And Shamsher Singh, you were actually shown in the documentary in the beginning and you looked quite upset. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the reason I was upset with Sunny coming to the Gurdwara is because this has been like a long-standing criticism that that I've had of him, is that he comments on Sikh issues like from the outside without building any kind of genuine engagement with Naujawan, without actually understanding the issues that he's talking about. So that day, like, you know, there's a program that was happening, and then he turned up with a BBC crew, which I found like really hypocritical, that he turned up to a Gurdwara with a BBC crew, and like it was like really intrusive. Like the whole process was really intrusive. And I didn't understand it.
We can't say Sunny's name or BBC's because they're not here to defend themselves, so we're Ofcom wise we can't say that.
Okay.
So just speak about what you've seen on mainstream.
Yeah, so like that day it was really upsetting that and I found it really intrusive, and for me it reflected the whole conversation and how it's been taking place. It doesn't actually involve us. We're like just passive, and you know, we're talked about as a community like from, you know, this really strange lens. Mm-hmm. So that's why I find it like upsetting that he was in the Gurdwara like that. And I thought it was important to challenge, to ask him like why he's there and like how he's making sense of coming into a Sikh space, when he never engages with the grassroots in any way. He doesn't engage with any Sikh organizations, and he feels qualified to talk about issues that he doesn't fully understand, and that's been a long-standing criticism. And even after this documentary as well, I feel like if he had actually gone on the journey that we saw play out, it would have been way more beneficial for him to actually understand the issues. But yeah.
So that conversation that you had with him initially, that the documentary showed, you were quite upset, but then later on in the documentary you were also shown having a better conversation. Well, in my opinion, it was a better conversation. So did that, your upsetness, it led to you having the opportunity to then speak to the presenter a little bit more? Like, how do you feel about that conversation that happened later on?
So the first conversation was about like this documentary and this plan to make a documentary, and he made some commentary about like this documentary is about Khalistan, it's about Sikh activism. There wasn't really a clear mention of what the documentary was going to be about in terms of like Jagraj Singh, and for me that was like, well, this is the issue. Like, you talk about Khalistan, you talk about Sikh activism, but these aren't topics that you're engaged with. This isn't a struggle that, you're involved in. This isn't a struggle that you understand. I mean, even in the documentary itself, like the way Khalistan is presented by the narrator is like I'm upset with living in Britain, so I founded a movement to make my own country. Like, it is completely nonsensical, and it erases like, the history of the struggle and how it's connected to Sikh sovereignty. And for me, like, there was like over 5 hours of like discussion, and we went into serious topics about Sikh sovereignty, where the presenter in the documentary was saying, oh, in your opinion Sikhs are sovereign. I was like, no, this is a fact. It's not my opinion. This is a historic fact. Sikhs are a sovereign people. And there was moments in that conversation where he was asking me like 3-minute long questions, and I found that really difficult, because I was like, well, you're not really asking a question, you're telling me what your opinion is, and trying to say that it's a question. Why don't you answer it yourself, right? You don't really need me for that process. If you want to actually listen or learn, then there's a different way to do that. And that was the whole point of having this dialogue, because a lot of what you see in especially like mainstream documentaries, it always looks at any kind of community, especially like small minority communities like Sikhs, with a really weird like racist lens. So for me, it was an opportunity to interrupt like mainstream discourse, especially when it is about Khalistan, because that's what National Sikh Youth Federation as a Jathebandi is about. It is about creating more space for discussions around our sovereignty, for Khalistan, for the struggles of like generation of martyrs, and these are really, really important issues that we work on. So the whole point of having this conversation with the presenter, with the mainstream media, is to present some of those discussions. But it was disappointing, and I'm sure other people are going to talk about it later on, about how we're really genuine about having conversations and discussions in our community, and the presenter constantly is telling us that discussions aren't happening in our community when they do happen, and then later on he interviews, like, as Deepa Singh was talking about, these masked protesters, when I had spoken to him about like this topic specifically, and I believe he understands the what the contention is, but he himself played into the documentary played into that sensationalized rhetoric about Sikh militants and extremists. Even though those words weren't used, it's still like this kind of image that was created. And I feel a lot of people have been commenting on Twitter that he's presented Jagraj Singh in that same light, but that's a whole other topic about how the BBC how like mainstream media only sees the orthodox and the moderate Sikh, right? They have to cast us into these stereotypical roles.
Yeah.
We thank you for your response, and but again, we have to just clarify that these views are of the audience themselves, and those who are being spoken about aren't here to defend themselves, so we can't help, but everyone try and keep it as civil as possible, and try not to mention anyone's names, because this isn't what it's about. It's not a witch hunt. It is about the Bantik view and what the Sikh activists do in the UK. I want to bring in Sukhwinder Singh, who works with the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy, and they do some fantastic work. And what I want to ask you as a a simple question. Basically, a lot of people have been sending in messages to KTV team and asking, saying, you know, academics and these educated type people, people in positions of power, are they exploiting the Sikh positions to further their agenda? Now, these are questions that have been coming into us, so I think you would be ideal to answer this.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa,
Khalsa,
Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Yes, to be honest, I have an issue with the word academics with some of these people because they're there for a particular reason. Now, going back to the documentary, and by the way, there's no danger of me mentioning any names because my memory is really bad, and you know I often forget names. So last night the documentary. To be honest, when the initial sort of message came, so people forwarded on WhatsApp, and I read it on people's sort of profiles and on Facebook and things like that. And my immediate sort of thought was, okay, let's see what they gonna come up with this time, because this corporation, this company that produced this documentary, the TV channel, their history when it comes to Sikhs and presenting Sikhs in a positive way is it's not great, really, because I remember when it was the 300 years tricentenary of the Khalsa, they actually put together a documentary then, and it was shown at 11:30 p.m. So this is like a big event for the Sikhs, 300 years, and they showed it at 11:30 p.m. and I think that was the first half, and then the next one was the next day. So the point I'm trying to make is that these people, they will try and push these presenters, these documentary makers as academics, but they're not really, because they're there to push forward a narrative that they want pushed forward, and that's all it is really. And when I saw the documentary yesterday, everything that I thought that this is going to be, and it was. By Jagraj Singh, he was a legend, right? And for somebody to talk about the work, the amazing work that he did, and then they chose this guy, right? Shows that their intentions really. And I was wondering how much of it is actually going to be about Bhai Jagraj Singh, and wasn't really about Bhai Jagraj Singh, to be honest. He had to mention it a few times because it was in the title, and that's what they sort of portrayed. This is what the documentary is going to be about, but it really wasn't. It's the same old kind of I don't know. It's like these people, either they need to kind of like some people need to offer them work also, that they spend their time doing something worthwhile. Otherwise, they are keep this interfaith marriage thing. They keep going on about it. When that's fine, go on about it, but actually look at what the actual issue is. Not present it as, oh look, these guys are just fanatics. They don't like any other faith. They just want to associate themselves with their own and in their little community. They don't like anybody else. They don't like any outsiders. That's what they want to show. Whereas nobody, like in that documentary yesterday, no one actually explained about what the Anand Karaj is and why we have an issue with it. There was none of that, right? People, so by Jagraj Singh Ji, they showed a little clip of where he mentions Anand Karaj. But the thing is, to the armed audience watching, who are not Sikhs, they don't know what Anand Karaj is. They don't know what he's actually mentioning, why it is so important to us. So if you're going to do a proper documentary, if you are an academic, then do your job properly, right? Now look at the issue. Why are these? Why do we have an issue with interfaith marriage? Why? It's not because we are just intolerant people and we don't want no other faiths to come to the Gurdwara or anything like that. So when you talk about these intellectuals, I really have to question that, and I think their sort of hidden agendas come out, and that's exactly what we saw yesterday.
Thank you, Suki, for your opinions, and it's quite interesting to see that some of the views back, a lot of feedback was even online, that a lot of people, the average person online was very, very upset that how they did not highlight Jagraj's positive work. And people didn't realize until after he's gone, and there's so many active people now that that are doing positive work. They're sitting in the studio, just a little minute handful of them, but there is hundreds across the UK that are doing positive work, and Hajibani people, and that's hard, and it's so important that we back the positive work that's going on in the community. Like some of the KTV team have just been out doing some seva with some other organisations. We've got great people here in the studio doing some work. Even Jaspreet Panji, let me talk about some of the work they do with Core Faction, and they do monthly seminars. You do a lot where you bring females to the table. You talk about female role models in Bantik, with a Bantik sword historically and stuff like that. Just let the viewers know what you do from Core Faction.
So Core Faction is a part of the National Sikh Youth Federation, and it is monthly meetings in Southall in West London, and we get Sikh women together, and it's a space exclusively for Sikh women to come together in the Gurdwara and explore different issues whilst putting Gurbani at the centre of everything, because I think that's sometimes lost. When we're talking about Sikh issues, Gurbani is often lost. We often talk from our own experiences and from like more of an English mindset, and we forget completely about Gurbani. So that's something that we do, and it's really interesting through doing that work. A lot of people have said that females aren't really active in this work, which is completely not true. Everyone on the ground knows that females are very much involved in all of the activism work that happens in the UK. I can only speak for the UK because that's where I'm from, and we have some amazing females in the studio today, so we're going to be asking them some questions too. The first one is Tish God. She is a barrister, and she has done some amazing seva here in the UK. She was actively involved in the Free Juggi Now campaign. So I'm going to hand it over to Tish and get her to talk a little bit about the seva that she's done and a new thing that she has opened called God is Legal. So we're going to get her to talk about that.
Waheguru Khalsa, Waheguru Fateh. So from the documentary last night, it was highlighted that a lot of negative stuff was highlighted and not enough positive stuff. So from that perspective, the positive work that I do in the community is from a legal perspective. I try and help people within the Bant who have issues, Bantik issues, that if they go to a Gora barrister, they're not necessarily going to understand their case. A current case that I'm working on is a discrimination case against a multinational company who is discriminating a Singh because he decided to grow his gears and become a proper Singh. And he's worked with the company for a period of time, and due to this he's now being discriminated, and that company, I mean, they were expecting his case to get chucked out. When we turned up to the hearing, they were quite shocked that the judge agreed with us that he had a claim for discrimination against the company based on the things that had happened to him. One of them was he wasn't allowed to wear his ghara, and as we know, ghara is the article of faith for us, and ghara is an article of faith for us, and one of the people that were discriminated against him is a Catholic, and for a Catholic they're allowed to wear their wedding band, which is an article of faith. So when I made that comparison to the judge agreed that that is discrimination, in fact. So now we're going to proceed with the case to trial and see what happens. Some of the other work that I've been doing is with the Free Juggi Now campaign. As we know, it's not being reported enough on mainstream media, and if they want to make a documentary, they should make a documentary about the positive work we're doing. We're trying to get a British-born Sikh back home who's been unlawfully detained in India. It's our right to protest in the UK. We have a freedom of expression under the Human Rights Act, and it's our right to protest. Yeah. Thank you.
No. Thank you for your input. It's very important that we have people with professional skill sets that are serving the Panth, you know, in their spare time while they're working as professionals, be it barristers like Tish, be it in the education departments as teachers, be it in social services helping young vulnerable girls, be it in, you know, any walk of life. Please, please put your little 5% or 10% time into Seva for the Qawm. You know, helping the Sikh Parvars, helping the Sikh Panth, because the only way we're going to go is when you're putting your perspective into that. So I can speak from some of the work that we've done in the past, working on cases. You know, we need professional social workers who understand Sikhs when they go into care, so they understand that the cultural needs before, if they send them to a non-Sikh house while they go into care, if they've got issues at home. We need people to understand the cultural and religious sensitivities before they take them in, because we have had people go to non-Sikh homes and then they've cut their case and then they've lost their faith and then they've left and joined another dharm. And we're not against no other dharm. What we're saying is we don't want to lose people from ours if we can help. So if you're a professional, you know, just get in touch with the KTV studios, see what sort of seva you can do, and we can put you in the right direction to the right organisation, just like the fantastic teams we've got here today to help serve in the Panth. And you know, what else? You know, a lot of people do hobbies in their spare time. What better thing could you do to do seva for the Panth? And you know, I want to bring Nindi in, because Nindi runs an organisation called Sarbatta Bala. She's another female. People, this is one criticism that us activists get online, and you know, the thing that, you know, the anti-agendas always throw, which I've seen openly, is, oh, you can't be a female voice. But there's 3 female voices sitting here and they're telling you how active they are, but you've never given them a platform to speak. But we have today. I want to bring Nindi in. She does work in UK and abroad with vulnerable girls, with vulnerable families, as much as she can. She even, you know what, touched me, what the seva she did for 550 Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Gurpurb. She arranged a Nagar Kirtan back home. And that's how powerful some of the seva that goes on is in the UK, and people don't even realise some of the gems that we've got sitting in the Panth right now. So Nindi, you know, just speak about some of the work you do, take your time, let everyone know, you know, what the great work that you and your team have been doing.
Okay, first of all, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, and KTV. I'd just like to thank KTV for once again the platform, because as Dippa, you clearly pointed out, females, as a Sikh female, sometimes I have noticed we get pushed aside. But the Naujawan here today, and Dippa Singh, what you guys are doing is bringing out these women who are, you know, role models, and even the public sector. Because I can see a lot of us work in the public sector. I myself work in the public sector as a female, and it is really important, because Sikh activism, I think we always see as it's political, it's negative, but today has actually proved that it's not. It's actually very positive with the seva we're given. When I say given, because as a Sikh, we're I wouldn't say bounded, but we're taught principles. And those principles come from our Guru Nanak Dev Ji, which is obviously, you know, we're going to earn honestly. So, you know, you talked about schools, barrister, the public sector. We're all out there trying to earn an honest living. And on top of that, it's about giving back. So that could be knowledge, that could be the Swand, that could be Maya. But just giving back into that community is really important. And being a British, UK-born Sikh, having platforms like KTV, it's really important, because I've got to be honest, I think if it wasn't for such channels, I'd be losing my roots. And as you clearly pointed out, a Nagar Kirtan in Sultanpur Lodi for 550 years. It's when you see KTV and they're doing amazing work, like even now that they're doing Sej Bart, the Seva, I think it is, and going back into Nagana Seb. So that 550 years is continuing, and that's what Seva is about. It's about bringing all that positivity back into it. Because as you said, I mean, when I go into work, I've got to be honest, a lot of my colleagues say, oh my God, Sikhs are fantastic. Because we thrive on compassion, we thrive on daya, we have the Panj Pyare, and we're thriving on all these principles. So, you know, I only do, or our charity, we do very small work, and as Dippa pointed out, it's the female child in Punjab, because unfortunately that child is forgotten. So I don't know whether any of you guys remember the murders when these girls are doing Bhangra, So they're either getting shot, in Punjab. So why are those girls doing Bhangra? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Why? It's poverty. You know, which father or mother wants to have their daughter doing such a job? So we have to bring it back to the roots, guys. What is going on? Bring it back to the basics, and that's what Jagaraj Virji was doing. Basics of Sikhi. If we haven't got our basics, we're going to lose it. So I just like to thank once again KTV for the platform. We do Seva here in the UK. We do selfless service, once again as Dibba said, and that's based on Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Langar. Nobody should sleep hungry. So it's your vulnerable women, your vulnerable families. Anybody can contact SDB Everyone Prosper, both in the UK and Punjab, and we'll always try under the umbrella of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So once again, thank you KTV for empowering and giving your sisters an opportunity on live TV. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki
Before we
Fateh.
go onto the caller, I just want to ask you one question. You did some work on the Nagar Kirtan. How did that make you feel? What was the views and opinions of the Sangat that were there? What was their feedback? Just talk a bit about that, because people don't see that work. And I saw you went live and you showed me how it was there, and you know, it looked fantastic, and I wish I could go there. But you know, just put your input, because I saw how beautiful it looked. I just want your views so the Sangat know how, you know, how amazing it was out there.
I've got to be honest, it didn't hit me until we actually got into Sultanpur Lodi. And when I got into the Sultanpur Lodi Sangat, they just all embraced me. And they were like, you know what, Nindi, if it wasn't for Sarbat Dapal Everyone Prosper, we don't think we would have ever have come to Sultanpur Lodi. And yes, I did get emotional, because I was like, Guruji, you, the vessel, I'm just the vessel with that good deed, but he chose me out of so many. So I had no expression apart from I was crying, and I just remember everybody going, why are you crying? I said, because he chose me. You know, Harjiyo Nimana da Niman, you know, I'm unworthy of what he gave me, but then I felt very blessed. So it was amazing.
No, that's brilliant. And as you can see, everyone has a role, everyone has a seva, and people do their seva in different ways, in different tariqas. Some people use protest, some people like to educate people. There's different ways and different tariqas to do things. And I want to bring, we got a caller on the line, I believe, and it's Jaggi's brother Gopi. Now Jaggi's been in detention in Punjab and now in Delhi Tihar jail. I want to get Gopi's views on the recent documentary and his activism in the UK as well. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. First of all, thanks to KTV for allowing this views to be portrayed of how the Sikh community is actually feeling after that documentary from, we don't need to say his name, everybody knows the name. But I was disappointed. Deepa Singh, I spoke to you about this morning as well. When I watched that last night, I was disappointed, because Bhai Jagdar Singh's message was unity, and that documentary did not show any unity. All it showed was a divide, and that wasn't Bhai Jagdar Singh's legacy. That wasn't what he wanted. He wanted the Panth, the Sikh, to get together. And we've seen that when he fell ill, and how the Panth, the Sikh community, non-Sikhs got together and they were praying for Bhai Jagdar Singh's tandurusti, as opposed to what was going on. And I watched the video, even his last, where it was like, I am trying. It's not as if I've just given up. And that was the Sangat and Sikhi that kept that going.
Gopi, I just want to interrupt you there. You know, like we were talking about this documentary, and then now something just come to mind, so I had to just check on my phone. And you know, after that documentary, mainstream media this morning put a picture of Jagraj Singh along with the author of the documentary, and use radicalism above that in the headlines. This is national headlines, talking about basic Sikhi Jagraj Singh as a radical now. And this is sort of the narrative that's been put out in the mainstream media after this documentary. How serious and bad do you think that is?
No, it's embarrassing for everyone. Bhai Jagdar Singh's legacy wasn't that. What we've seen by Jagdar Singh was unity. And what we've seen with the journalist writing this, for me, I'm ashamed of watching that last night. I was looking on social media today, and there's non-Sikhs commenting and saying, where was the goodness about the Sikhs? The amount of good Sikhs do for Britain around the world, he's not portrayed any of that at all, but instead trying to shine a bad light on them, that they are extremists. Jaggi is painted as an extremist from the Indian authorities.
Yeah.
To date, he's still not been charged. But what we've seen when Jaggi was abducted, detained, and when the Free Jaggi Now campaign started in that very studio, was how quickly the community got together and the unity was shown. Until date, is still shown. When we were watching the police officer talking about thuggery, of why the police are banned from Sikh networks and Sikh spaces, one of the reasons was with Jaggi's detention, West Midlands police being involved. Now, openly say that in regards to that. Then the 5 Singhs, a couple of them are actually in the studio, whose houses were raided, and they were raided to try and find evidence against Jaggi, to try and incriminate him with stuff, but instead 5 youths who were actively and still are actively involved were targeted because they were raising Jaggi's voice. Instead of him talking about it, why have the police been banned in Sikh spaces? He said that there's an extremist view coming up. So even as a police officer, he shouldn't have said that. If he's going to go on to a documentary and make comments, there should have been at least somebody on the other side talking. I only came into activism since Jaggi's detention.
And, and Gopi, you've done a fantastic job, and you've had a lot of support from the Panth regarding it. And the Sangat, you know, at your feet, they try their best to support you however you need it, the family, parivar. You know, the other day, the message of Benji when they're saying they're refusing visas, I saw this in the national, I think it was in the Scottish National newspaper as well. So just talk a bit about that as well, because you know what, you were forced and brought into the Sangat because of what happened to Jaggi, but that made you an activist. And
yes.
from that, look at the trauma that is affecting the whole Parivar, isn't it now?
Yeah, it's a whole Parivar. As soon as that article was posted on Facebook, I had calls from London and saying, Gurpreet, kudi nu wapas nahi karna. Unu itthe rakhna wa, tell us how much money we need. We'll put down 10,000, 20,000 pounds, and she's not going anywhere. And that was people that I've only known through Jaggi's case, through activism.
And these are people in the Panth, and Gopi, these are people in the Panth who have only met you through in the Panth itself,
yeah.
From your activism, Hannah?
Yeah, that was from there, and they straight away got together and said, I've had umpteen phone calls, and they said, okay, whatever vakils you want, we'll pay for the vakils. Whatever you need to do, you're making sure she's not going anywhere.
Fair play,
and
fair play.
That's the kind of response you get. And that was, we've seen that response when Bhaijraj Singh was diagnosed with cancer.
100%.
The Sangat got together, but none of that was mentioned in that documentary.
And you know, one key thing, while you're on the phone, and I'll bring Benji Jasprit into this as well, one key thing that forgotten, Jagraj had a vision. He had a vision where he wanted to set up an Amritsar project. And who did that seva and went on national TV and did that? The authors of this documentary couldn't even you know, recognize those sorts of people to bring them to the table who were actually trying to fulfill Jagraj's vision by help fundraising for that Amritsar project, and all the Panthic Jathebandiya back there, everyone are in here back there, and everyone out there back there. And there's presenters on our national TVs, and they're out the back, and I'll mention it, it's Cam Singh, and he's done a fantastic job. He's helped a lot of people, and even those projects weren't even mentioned, and that was Jagraj's vision. That was his legacy.
If we look at it as well at the same time, I thought that whole title was misleading. He's mentioned by Jagraj Singh a few times, brought Benji into it. The whole title was misleading. It wasn't about Jagraj Singh's legacy, because if it was, none of us would be complaining about the documentary. We would have been saying, you know what, he done a brilliant job. But instead, what he's done is tried to show to the world that there's a divide between the Sikh community. And there isn't a divide, because when ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਭੀੜ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕੋ ਦਮ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, and that's the beauty of our dharm, how we get in. If there's an injustice, we'll get there and we'll stand. it doesn't matter who it's for, we'll stand there. And I think he's not portrayed that fully. And when he's getting stick about the way he does his journalism, etc., even Shamsher Singh has a lot of knowledge. I didn't know Shamsher Singh until this whole Free Jaggi Now campaign started. The amount of knowledge I've learned of the Singh has been unbelievable. A couple of weeks ago we were talking about different things, but you can clearly tell the way the documentary was edited, because they only took out certain points. Shamsher Singh is quite good at when he's articulating stuff, but he's passionate about when he gives the information. And what the documentary has shown is certain aspects of it, but it's not given the justification. And I'm 110% sure that Shamsher Singh would have given full justification. He would have given full narrative of, and even examples of where our fund, when what it's saying.
Definitely, I think, Gopi, before we finish up, I just wanted to say, the narratives that would have been put out, I'm sure Shamsher Singh and some of the others' views would have been on the police banning, and it would have been authentic and the right narrative. There would have been a better narrative if we could get a better, more positive one on Khalistan, on the wedding protest. There would have been justified, accountable people speaking on behalf of the protesters, and even the Vaisakhi and the mosque events. There would have been, authentic people speaking from the right side. And you can't put a one-sided narrative out there. People are lying on national TV, and when it comes to the other side, then we're labelled as radicals, extremists. Even the media stations we work on, even the social media platforms we work on, the projects we work on, labelling all sorts. Even Jaggi, just as a human rights blogger, has been labelled on about the extremist as well, from all sorts. So before we end, any final message out there to the Sangata before we end the call?
No, to the Sangat is Ekta is key. That is how we've got together. So what we would request is that we're going to stay together and we're going to stay united. We're not going to let this documentary show divide.
Yep.
Sikh PA and Sikh Youth UK, National Sikh Youth Federation, and many other organisations that are doing brilliant seva. We're going to keep highlighting what we're doing. We're not going to let this documentary come down and put us out, because we can't stop. We've never stopped, and we never will stop. So to the community again, everyone that's listening, if you're not involved, get your voices heard. And there's a lot of people that are complaining about this documentary. So I've had a lot of time, you've given me a lot of airtime, and there's a lot of people in the studio.
So
thank you to everyone in the studio. And I think I've spoke quite a lot tonight.
All right, cheers, Gopi. Thanks for the call. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa,
Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Jaspreet, how do you think, Gopi coming into the Sikh circles, and he's speaking about, some of his feedback on the documentary. What's your views?
I think it's really good. I think the documentary, it was really good because it got the Sangat discussing things on social media. So it was a really open discussion. And like I said before, we, in Sikh spaces on the ground, we do have these discussions, but maybe they're not open to everyone. Maybe not everyone is in those spaces, maybe it's not accessible. So I think really one of the best positives that came out of it is that everyone's talking about these things, and that's a really good thing. I'm going to take it back to the audience. Another thing that has been mentioned a few times is Sikh activism, and it comes in so many different forms, and I think this is such a nuanced thing. Some people think that it's something really bad and scary, something to be scared of, but it's really not. Sikh activism comes in lots of different forms, and I think for Nojwan, it's almost a form of expression, and it can even be artwork. And we have an artist here today, Jagdeep Singh, and he's going to be talking a little bit about his music.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you for giving me space on this. I just wanted to touch upon one of the issues that I never really expected the mainstream media to talk about any Sikhi in any correct way. I think me and Shamsher yesterday were talking about this, where one of the most interesting things that we saw was one of the family members were discussing a way to help to help her son out of being someone who has gone off the rails, as she had put it. And the way that she wanted to do that was by, and I hope Shamsher Singh goes into this in more detail, but the way that she wanted to do this was get him to understand himself and connect more to who he really is and his own identity. And the way and where she thought that he would find this was at a Sikhi camp. And I found that really interesting. For me, that was an honest thing that she said, and it was one of the most it was the only honest thing I heard on there. At a Sikhi camp, Khalistan is normal. Talking about the Sikh Sangarsh is normal. This space is comfortable for us, and like, I just want to talk a little bit about my history. Back in the day, growing up, I felt a lot of discrimination. And I didn't understand why this was or where it was coming from issues being that my friends were allowed to wear their crosses around their neck, and how Tish highlighted a kara is, there's no space for it. You're not allowed to wear it. And I was constantly feeling discriminated against and never felt comfortable until I put headphones in and was listening to Shahidi music. This for me was beautiful. And only recently I'm understanding why it was a safe space for me, is because it was connected to the Khalistan Sangarsh. And that space is where I feel normal. That space is where I feel comfortable. So I feel blessed to be a part of the albums that are coming out. Straight out of Khalistan 4, straight out of Khalistan 5. It's a beautiful thing. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be involved with that.
No worries. Before we go to Shamshed in the audience, I want to just say we've had a caller on the line. So if we just bring the caller, then we'll go to Shamshed. First of all, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. ਹਾਂਜੀ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੱਲ ਦੇ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਵਾ
हाँ जी देखो अपने दीपक कहानी इदा है कोई इन जो इदा के लोग है ना देखो मैंने पता मोस्ट ऑफ द ऑडियंस स्पीक इंग्लिश पर मैं आई फील कंफर्टेबल इन पंजाबी
ना ठीक है बढ़िया खड़ो
ते ਉਹ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੈ ਕੋਈ ਇਹ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਕਹੋ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਘਬਰਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਫੇਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਾ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਇਹ ਬੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹ ਪਿਛਲੇ 20 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਲੱਗਾ ਇਹ ਨਵੀਂ ਹੀ 20 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਇਹ ਮਤਲਬ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਜ਼ਾਦ ਆਪਣੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੱਕੀ ਆ ਇਹ ਲੋਕ ਨੂੰ ਬਰਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਆਪ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਇਹ ਆਪ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਕੌਮ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਪਛਾਣ ਆ ਵੱਖਰੀ identity ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਡ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੈਰਤ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਗੈਰਤ ਉਹ ਗੈਰਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ 'ਚ ਮਰ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਉਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਕੌਮ ਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਉਸ ਰਸਤੇ ਲੰਘਾਈਏ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਪਰ ਇਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਹੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਜੱਲਾ ਸਿਖਾਉਂਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਬੁੱਧੀਜੀਵ ਦਿਖਾਉਣ ਲੱਗ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਐਕੈਡੈਮਿਕ ਆ ਪਰ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਕੌਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਬੇੜੀਆਂ 'ਚ ਪੱਟੇ ਪਾਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਯਾਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੰਮੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਹਰ ਗੱਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਵਿਰੋਧ ਕਰਦੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕੌਮ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਇਮੇਜ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਪਛਾਣ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਲੱਗ ਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿਣਾ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਉੱਥੇ ਇਹ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਕਦੀ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਦੇਖੋ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਟੌਪਿਕ ਚੇਂਜ ਕੀਤੇ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਰਾ ਦਿਨ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਇੰਨਾ ਕੁਝ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਇੱਕ ਦੋ ਬੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਹੱਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਿਖਣ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਫਟਕਾਰ ਹੀ ਪਾਈ ਆ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਵੀ ਦੇਖਿਆ
ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਫਟਕਾਰ ਪਾਈ ਆ ਉਦਾਂ ਵੀ 2-4 ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੁੱਠੀ ਭਰ ਬੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਹੁਣ BBC ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ 'ਚ ਰਹੋ ਕੋਈ ਇਹਨਾਂ BBC ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਵਨ ਸਾਈਡ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਗਰਾਜ ਸਿੰਘ ਦਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਕਿ ਫੇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਲੰਮੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਬਾਕੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਘਬਰਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈਗੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਹੀ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਇਹ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਖਰੀਦਿਓ ਲੋਕ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੋਲੀ ਬੋਲਣੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਜਿਹਨਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੰਗਾ ਲੈਣਾ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਹਰੇਕ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਲੋਕ ਚੰਗੇ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਲੱਗਣੇ ਨੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਪੰਗਾ ਲੈਣੇ ਹਰ ਥਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਆ ਸਿਰ ਡਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਰ ਥਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਪਰਵਾਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਦੀ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਭਾਈ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਵੀ ਏਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਬਣਾ ਲੈਣ ਤਾਂ ਲੋਕ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਕੰਮ ਕਹਿਣਗੇ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਖਤਮ ਹੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਕੌਮ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਮੁੰਡੇ ਹੱਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਖੜਦੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਵਧੀਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੂੰਹ ਤੋੜਨਾ, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਚਾਹੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਆ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮੂੰਹ ਤੋੜਨਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ, ਤਦੇ ਹੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੁਰੇ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਆ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਅੰਕਲ
ਸਮਝੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੁੰਡਿਆਂ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਡਟ ਕੇ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਪੰਥ ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਆ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ BBC ਨੇ ਦਿਖਾ ਲਈ ਆ, ਉਹ ਲੋਕਾਂ 'ਚ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਗੱਲ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕਰਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਸੂਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੀ, ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਖੁਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਅੰਗ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੀ, ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਮਾਂ ਕੱਢਣੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਜਾਵਾਂ ਸ਼ੋਅ, ਸੱਚੀ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਜਾਈਏ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੀਏ ਨੂੰ ਸਹੀ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਲੋਕ ਹੈ ਕੌਣ ਆ, ਇਹ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੀ ਔਕਾਤ ਆ, ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਤਾਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਦਿਨ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੀ ਆ ਹਨਾ, ਤਾਂ
ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਅੱਜ ਤੋਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਆਏ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੰਬੇ ਸਮਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਆਇਆ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਹਰ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਕੌਮੀਆਂ ਬੇੜੀਆਂ 'ਚ ਵੱਟੇ ਪਾਉਂਦਾ,
ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਕਰਦੇ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਾਲ ਐਕਟਿਵ ਹੋਏ ਹੋ ਆ, ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੇਵਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਕੌਮ ਲਈ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਲੋ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਸੇਵਾ ਦੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਿਤੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਆਪ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਅਸੀਂ ਕਦੀ ਸਿਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਝੁਕਾਇਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮਰਜੀ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਡਟ ਕੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਡਟ ਕੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੱਤਾ।
ਨਾ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਹਰ ਥਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਟੈਂਡ ਕੀਤਾ। ਇਹ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਨੂੰ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਇਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਹਰ ਗੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਚੇਂਜ ਕਰਦੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਆ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ।
ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਲੋਕ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਰਮੋਂ ਮਨਾ ਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੜ ਜਾਈਏ। ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਕੰਮ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਵੀਰ ਕਰ ਲੈਣਾ। ਆਪਾਂ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਪਛਾਣ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ, ਗੁਰੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ, 10ਵੇਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਛਾਣ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਆ। ਸਿੱਖ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਹਰੇਕ ਦੇ ਹਿੱਕ 'ਚ ਵੱਜਣਾ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਜਾ ਕੇ।
ਹਾਂ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ, ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੇਰਾ ਅੰਕਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫੋਨ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਥ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਆ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ 'ਚ ਰਹੋ, ਸਾਰੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਡਟ ਕੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਉਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਕਰਨਾ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਘਬਰਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ। ਨਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਮੁੱਠੀ ਭਰ ਲੋਕ ਆ, ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਮੁੱਚੀ ਕੌਮ ਆ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਅੰਕਲ। ਓਕੇ ਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। Bhai Sahab, I am Amrik Singh from Sikh Federation UK. You've done a lot of seva for the Panth, and these are elders, you know, these are Siane Bujurg who have done seva, immense work in the community, who have stood, and now they're even standing with the Najwan who are going through the same process that they've been through. Just to cover anyone who said anything, if those mainstream media channels that people are mentioning aren't here, we can't speak against them. So everyone please be sensitive, and if anyone has, we can't speak on their behalf because they're not here to justify or put their opinions across. So apologies to anyone who has from the KTV global team. Jasprit, how important is it from Naujawan to still respect the seva that the Siane have done, but to even uncles watching the show and he's backing and supporting the Naujawan and all the sevadars that are here, and even speaking in favour of how everyone's come to collective to take a stand against people putting the negative narrative on the Sikh community right now.
I think it's really important to respect elders because they've been in the position that we're in now. So if we listen to them, if we have dialogue with them, yes, of course, there's some issues that will come with that because of like generational gaps and whatever
else. That's with every household.
That's with every household, exactly. And it's our job, I feel, to kind of overcome that and try and see it from their perspective, because at the end of the day, we're going to learn so much from them because they are older, they are wiser, and they've been in the position that we've been in, and they've probably made the mistakes that we are about to make. So listening to them will prevent us from making mistakes that are completely avoidable.
Yeah, and Uncle's done a lot. He's always backed the Najwan. Every protest, they're there, they're at the forefront, they're pushing it on their social media pages. So, just look out for them. They're doing something fantastic right now where they're trying to do something with the censor to recognise Sikhs there, and they're challenging government bodies right now as well. So fair play, as much as we can do to help. Like I said, everyone has a role. Everyone has a skill set. Everyone stick to their side. If everyone does that and everyone supports each other, we'll get further as a community, and I believe that as well. We just went to Jagdeep Singh, who spoke about the music side and some of the work he does, and he does a lot of work for the Khalistan movement. He does a lot about speaking about Shaheed Singhs and that sort of prachar. Now, I want to bring it back to Shamsher Singh quickly, because you spoke about Khalistan on this documentary that you spoke about, and it's important that our narrative and our prachar on these things is out there. So I want to bring it to Shamsher.
Yeah, I think that was one of the issues that the host of the documentary really has been fascinated about, and it's a conversation that he's kind of inserted himself into, and we've always had an issue with that because Khalistan is tied to state violence, is tied to massive erasure by the government, which is like literally in Punjab they tried to wipe out a generation that was engaged in resistance for their freedom. So this is a topic that we approach very seriously. It's something that we lecture on, it's something that we hold workshops on. We want to understand what Sikh sovereignty means in the context of being British and living here, being dislocated from Punjab, and these are really important issues. And I completely, the documentary couldn't do justice to that because, it's a documentary in itself, just, understanding this question and what it means to Sikhs and what Khalistan means to the Qawm as a whole. And that's where, I really, feel sorry for Sunny with this, documentary and how he's, how much, flack he's received, especially online. A lot of people have been saying, some people have been saying some really horrible things to him, and I think that is unfair and it should be called out. And I really feel sorry for him. And the reason I say this is because he literally made a documentary and he went all over, the UK, tried to get, connect to, this community that, his brother was a big part of. He's literally going on a journey to search for his brother, and that's not because his brother.
Can I just butt in there?
Yeah.
Sorry, you know what it is. I just want to. I know what you're saying, but a lot of people have been saying to us. Anyone who tries to dialogue, the same person who was out there online on national media, he said he wants to dialogue. But then people are trying to dialogue with him and he's blocking everyone on Twitter. So there can't be a conversation.
I'm one of the people that he's blocked on Twitter, which is quite, ironic, seeing as he's in a documentary. And the reason why I say, I feel sorry for him is because he's connected to his brother's legacy, as he describes it, because of the connection and the pyar Jagraj Singh had with Sikhi. And for me, I find that beautiful because it's not something Sunny's not the first individual to be caught up in that kitsch of Guru Sikhi. We talk about there's so much Bani that's written on it, right? Nakse klo sagal ang rom rom kar kaat kaat ke sikhan ke charan parwariye dasita tur mangde Guru Sikhan di. So for him to follow the chalak, a glimpse of his brother, and this documentary didn't do justice to that, and that's a tragedy. But at the same time, it didn't do a justice to any of the other issues he was trying to talk about, because fundamentally he wasn't honest with what this documentary was going to be about. And if he had been honest and said, look, I'm Sunny Hundo, I'm a super controversial journalist, I like talking about things.
Sunny's not here to defend himself.
So
the host
refused
to use the author's name for this documentary.
The host of the documentary said, I'm a controversial journalist and I like talking about things that I don't know about, and my brother was this Sikh pracharak, and I'm interested in X, Y, and Z issues, and I want to try to understand them. I think he would have. I think the documentary would have received a better reception if it was actually genuine to what it described. And I think some of the Sikh organizations like Basic Sikhi put out very clear statements that this documentary isn't about Jagraj Singh, because the way it was produced, the organizations that Jagraj Singh had set up weren't involved in that documentary, and I think that's where it really falls down, and I think that's where a lot of the negativity is coming from, because he's chosen to, again, and this is the long-standing critique, and this is probably one of the reasons why he blocked me on Twitter as well, is because I keep challenging the fact that he doesn't understand what he's talking about. He hasn't read Lama, he hasn't read the Gurbani of Lama, he doesn't understand what Nand Karaj means, he sees it as a marriage ceremony, he doesn't understand the issue isn't that Sikhs are against interfaith Anand Karaj, they're against interfaith marriage, the issue is around what Anand Karaj means to us, right? And then he's completely sensationalized.
But didn't
the whole
this
topic.
get all addressed in 2016?
Oh,
I remember,
100%.
I remember being part of some of the process, and Bhavinder Singh's just arrived, so I'll welcome you back to the audience. But I'm going to bring Bhavi in here as well, and Jaspreet next after Shamsher. But if we, in 2015, I believe there was 10 protests in a row, and I can categorically, I remember this to a T. There was 10 protests in a row, and then Sikh Council UK came to and had a meeting with the protesters, and they wanted to address this issue because it was getting at hand. And what they did was get all the Jathabandiya, all the Gurdwara Prabandhaks, and they came together in 2015 this is, and they said, could you put a halt to the protesters on the protests for 6 months, they said. And they said for 6 months while we get this education package together to help people educate, so be it Amritari, be it Kesari or Sehsari or whatever stage of Sikhi they're at, they do this education course. And from that course, you make a decision yourself if you want to do the Anand College or not. And this was put together, and Bobby was part of that with the Seek to Inspire team, along with the Basics team, and a lot of education departments were coming together for that. And I remember, and categorically remember, that the protesters, though they did 10 protests in a row, and there was highly influential, you know, non-Sikh, I'd say, there was a Pakistani music rapper who was going to have an Anand College in a Gurdwara in Birmingham, and his Anand College was stopped as well. And these are high-profile figures that were coming Shariam in Gurdwara. This is why the protesters were so upset, because it wasn't an average thing or, you know, like people make out and downplay it. This was going to another level where it was Shariam, where people would see their daughters or nieces or their aunties and uncles getting married in Gurdwara while the Gyanis and the Granthis were singing Lakh Khushiya Badshah. And it's not a Khushi di Gal when your Deepan or your sons and you know, nephews are leaving their Dharm. It's not a Khushi di Gal. And this is why the education was so important. So for the protesters, you know, I want to say a bit about, because they were put in a negative light by fake people who were put in a different narrative yesterday on this documentary. The protesters respected the elders, like we just have on the call now. The protesters respect Asiani, and we respected the rest of the Jathebandi and the Gurdwara. There was dialogues in place. There was people. So people who, these academics sitting in offices, and these police officers who are commenting, and these OBs, CBs and MBs who think they know it all, that are sitting in their offices commenting on our Bantik issues and our Maryada that they have no education about or no even dard for, you know, they sitting there doing that, and the protesters respected the elders, they respected the announcement, and they stopped protesting for not just 6 months like they are, they stopped protesting for 1 year. A whole year it was, from 2015 to 2016, to get this education in place, and it worked. It was announcements made, the Gurdwara on board, all the education departments on board. The only people who weren't on board were the biased journalists, the academics who had their own agendas, and the people who actually wanted to, you know, those who wanted to push their own agendas in Gurdwara, because of maybe that Punjabi on, I think, Apa Karnaiya and whatnot. It was that. There was a lot of talk. By 2016, a year later, there was a protest at Leamington, and that's what was highlighted. And it's important, like after Shamshir, I want to, these points weren't made, and it was put in a negative light, but what they were trying to make out, that the protesters were uneducated. These are professionals who work in banks, who are managers of companies, who run their own. These ain't your average, you know, thugs that these people were trying to make out. These people were peacefully sitting there, as you saw, in the protest. And in the documentary as well, they put footage of another documentary, of another protest that was taking place in 2015 in Lozel's Gurdwara Sahib, where there was big, tall, black, Muslim security guards standing there. And I'm not getting no avatar, and what I'm trying to say is these were people from non-Sikh backgrounds paid like goons to protect our Maryada, so they can do bad things to our Maryada as a calm, paid by these corrupt committees in these Gurdwara who were doing this. And these were non-Sikhs, so that footage was confused with the Leamington footage. And this is from the protest perspective, because I remember all of this. Bobby was part of the education part of this, where we were bringing in, I believe Suki was as well. We had meetings at Somerset Road Gurdwara. There was so much going on around this, because it was a national issue. So people need to remember how much blood, sweat and tears went into this. After Leamington, you know, we know who these two fake protesters weren't from the protest, because our Singhs, some of them ended up in court, and there was with Maharaj Kirpa given not guilties, because Maharaj looked after those who stood for the truth, and that's what happened.
So Baji, I think like a really interesting thing that you're saying, and I think a lot of people felt it as well, is that there was a lot of gaps in the documentary, and there was a lot of things, and maybe that's because the presenter isn't, you know, on the ground and doesn't necessarily understand all of the topics that were covered. And I think one of the things is that there was a lot of topics covered, and at times it felt like it was going back and forth. But just a question to Shamsher Singh and anyone else who wants to get involved with this is, I think a lot of people, when they're talking about the Anand College, a a lot of people have opinions on it, and a lot of people say, you know, it's a young religion, Sikh is a young religion, and they use buzzwords like, we're a liberal religion, we love everyone, we accept everyone, oneness, love, togetherness, like this kind of thing. But, you know, we can be about that, but also still have certain rules that need to be abided by. So if, I don't know if anyone wants to just chime in on that point.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is where I feel like the documentary, it didn't do any justice to any of these topics, because if it was just about looking at what Anandakaraj means and using that as a lens to understand, you know, so-called what tensions are, you know, us trying to build a connection to Gursikhi, us trying to find our a sense of belonging in an alien place, essentially, I think it might have done justice to that topic. But because it tried to cover so many different issues, it couldn't even convey what Anandakaraj meant. And you know, there was a clip where Jagraj Singh was talking about Anandakaraj, and it was a really short clip, and he's saying, you know, we don't have an issue, you can do a registry wedding, but in the Gurdwara, the Anandakaraj is between two Sikhs. Even if that was used as the lens to try to understand it, like, and if it was about Jagraj and understanding his work and his like legacy, that would have been a really good way to, you know, figure out what this means, because Basics was involved in that whole process. They still run like an Anandakaraj course. And this is where like the hypocrisy of the host comes into play, because as there's this video circulating of him where he's getting married to someone of a different dharam, and he had to undergo a conversation with like the priest and get their like agya, like to have his own wedding. And then that goes into the other question of what Anandakaraj is. Like, it's not just like a marriage like every other marriage, right? Anandakaraj is a connection between two Sikhs and their guru, and it involves the Sangat, it involves Sikhi, it involves walking on the path of Guru Sikhi. So it's a profound union, a commitment that involves the Sangat, that involves the Panth, that involves Guru Sahib, that is about furthering your life as a Gursikh in Grihasthi Jeevan. And these are like really, really important things. It's not just a quote-unquote marriage ceremony where you come, you get married, and it's your big day, and you know, it's all about you and like all the rest of it, because that's a really westernized, egocentric way of trying to understand what marriage is. And when you bring that comparison over to Sikhi, you're always constantly trying to fit in an understanding of something that's different in a way that essentially Gore understand it, because this documentary, as the host has talked about on so many platforms, was made to explain Sikhi to Gore. And because, you know, it had to have this sensational lens, it didn't end up doing justice to any of it, and it didn't end up doing justice to by Jagraj Singh and Basic Sikhi. And I can see why, you know, they're 100% their right to be upset. But the issues that it covered are really, really important issues. They need to be talked about: belonging, Britishness, representation. And they shouldn't be looked at from the lens of the tensions and the conflict that exists. And because the host is someone who's looking at it from the outside, they're trying to understand Sikhi through the tensions, not actually going on the journey. Like say Jagraj Singh went on this journey, went to Sikhi camp. Turning up there for 2 days with cameras isn't going to Sikhi camp. You know, actually participating, actually being in Sangat, and like, you know, Benji says the same thing to the host at the end, right? Like, this is something that has to be lived, something that has to be experienced. And he's trying to understand tensions and comment on tensions without understanding Sikhi, and without understanding, like he took this commentary of his on Raat Maryada. I 100% guarantee this individual has not read Raat Maryada, that's been written in Punjabi in the 1950s, and understood what it means, why it was written, what the Sikh conversation on this already is. It's not revolutionary to say, oh, the Raat Maryada, it needs to be updated. Right? It's like a revolutionary statement. Sikhs have been having this discussion for a really long time. So again, it points to talking about stuff and not understanding it. For me, it's not like, oh, you can't talk about this because you're not a Sikh, because we rely on non-Sikh sources for loads of stuff. But there has to be a good source. You have to understand the validity of the commentator. If you're talking about things that are really important to people, and you're doing so from a completely uninformed perspective, or because you had a Twitter beef with someone, like, you know, for me, that documentary literally just played out like, you know, a Twitter conversation. It was just jumping from point to point to point, and it was packaged in a certain way, which is fair to be distressed stressed about. But at the same time, I really do feel sorry for this individual because they're trying to find a sense of belonging. And for me, that's one of the key issues that we don't like talk about. Like he's very happy being British and he's comfortable with that identity.
Yeah.
And he's very conflicted about his identity as a Sikh.
Yeah.
But there's Sikhs that are very comfortable about being Sikh, but at the same time they fully embrace being British as well. So for me, that's an equal conflict that needs to be looked at, and we have to look at these issues through, the context of our arrival into Britain, and all these kind of games that are being played. This orthodox, militant, extremist Sikh, which unfortunately the documentary has put Jagraj into that bracket as well, and the moderate, liberal, progressive, works for, the police, works for the government, is super educated. Like that binary needs to be completely shattered because, it's not a reality.
Yeah, totally. I think you touched on some really, really interesting points. One of them is being that I think a lot of people are a bit confused about the whole Anand Karaj thing, and like you said, like it's used words like it's westernized, like it's like Gore would understand it from that lens, and that's something it doesn't make sense to us, and that's why these educational systems have kind of come into place about the Anand Karaj and stuff like that. I think there's also some articles on nojwani.com about the Anand Karaj and also the NSYF. There's plenty of articles that you can go and read, nsyf.org.uk and also nojwani.com. If you go onto these websites, there is so many resources about the issues that were covered on the documentary, and they're all completely cited. They're from reliable sources, so definitely check that out if you're interested in learning a little bit more rather than just having these kind of surface level conversations with people who don't necessarily understand these really, really complex issues. Baji, you wanted to take it back to
definitely. There's just something you've just reminded me of. There's a lot of positive feedback being put online. People like Harjinder Singh from Akal Publishers, have a look at his Facebook. He's put a really educated and great argument out there online. Harvey Nojwani did a video, have a look at that. I believe Mankamal Singh from London, who runs the school, he's put a really excellent article. Go on their Facebooks, have a little look, see what they've put. Put your feedback in the comments, just get involved in the conversation, very important. We've got a really good audience and we need to go to the back row. We've got Manjot Singh from California. He travelled all the way, he's staying here at the moment, so we want to give his little angles and your feedback on UK Sikh activism and a bit of response from last night's documentary as well. Then after that, if you could pass the mic to Bhavinder Singh, Suki and Jaspreet, we want to go down to the back row of the audience as well. Thank you.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So as you mentioned, I'm from abroad. And I've been here for the past few months, and just a few observations I've made, coming from California, where, our families there have only been there for, a couple of generations. And stark contrast is you come here, and so many of our Sikh parivars have been here, 3rd, 4th, 5th generation, and it's just an observation is that, it's surprising to see how dissociated some people have become from our Gurdwara, from our Sikh spaces, and it was just really surprising to me viewing this documentary that someone can be so dissociated and ill understanding of what we're trying to do in our Gurdwara when we're trying to reconnect with our principles and ethics and develop and bring ourselves into the 21st century. And I've only been here a few months, and our Sikh spaces are so welcoming. I feel like I'm already in a parivar. I feel like I know so many of you so well, and it's just surprising that the person responsible for going in and documenting and under the title of a journalist was just so inept and incapable of grasping the issues that we hold close to our heart, and he presented them. I mean, a journalist is supposed to research and then present what their findings are, and it's just they're supposed to research, create a narrative, and then present it. Whereas, from viewing the documentary yesterday, my feeling was that this person first had a presentation they wanted, and then did research to try to fit the narrative that he created prior to the research. And that wasn't any more evident in it was most evident in the way that he misrepresented and misconstrued Sikh's perspective on our involvement in the police and why we're rejecting them from our spaces. Again, I keep saying this, I've only been here a few months, and in the first month it was obvious to me why police are not welcome in the Gurdwara, right? This person obviously put no research or any effort into recognizing why it is that, recruitment efforts for at Gurdwara are not welcome, and it's very easy to find out why. I asked 2 people a question, and I now understand that that the police acted in the interest of a foreign government, and that's shocking. As citizens, that the government's supposed to protect our rights. You come into this country and you find that actually the UK government is supporting the efforts of foreign power and in violating the rights of citizens, us, and in this country we've been here 5 generations now, and our rights are violated so blatantly. And and so, distanced from our roots, Jagraj Singh was doing everything he could to get us to reconnect with our principles and develop our minds so that we're able to, create ethics and principles that can help guide us, in this country, and it was just sad to see that it was not highlighted, the work that organizations are doing to educate us.
Definitely, some of the I remember before Jagraj turned ill, I was on the phone to him at least a few times a week. Our relationship was really strong. He used to, even before he died, and I'll tell the Sangha, and I can't go into specific details, but he asked me to do a personal favor for him. And I'll stand by that, and I will do that. And people don't realize how close our relationship was. And as Sikhs, we have a lot of relationship. I've got a lot of good relationship, personal relationship with a lot of people in this room as well. As activists, we all get on, we all do and help each other how and where we can. And for him, when he turned ill, to say to me to do something and a favor for him, we have to live by that. And of course, before he turned ill, as an activist, he was on it. You saw the videos we played at the beginning where he backed the mortar, where he backed everything. I want to bring Bhavinder Singh in quickly now, because a part of the Sikh activists in the UK, he does a lot of work with education, and it's so important that we highlight the positives that people aren't putting out there. The amount of seva Bhavinder Singh does with smargams, with camps, prachar online, creating pracharaks, making sure we got the right pracharaks out there, so much. I can't even say, and I've worked with him in Gurdwara committees as well, done so much work, so people don't realise that amount of efforts, meetings, sit-downs, structuring things, making sure everything's organised to a T. Bhavinder Singh's here, Jaspreet's here from BOSS as well. We've got a lot of Sukhvinder Singh from Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy. We have a fantastic generation of educated Singhs and Naujawan and Singhaniya here to help guide the Panth in the right direction, but we're not bringing them to the forefront. And sometimes, because of the amount of backlash that happens online, they don't want to come to the forefront. But today, I rang and I tried to push everyone to come in. So Bobby, I know you had a few family chores to do, but I appreciate you turned up to make the effort to stand united with the Naujawan in the UK. So just talk a bit about that, and welcome you to the show.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sorry, I was a bit late. So what I got from that program last night that I watched, kind of like, sorry, they've asked me to stand up. So looking at the end, and at the end of the evaluation that I had from that whole documentary was the reason why we set up Seek to Inspire, why people like Jagraj started basically Sikhi, to target those people who, especially the words that Bhai Sahib used when he entered the Gurdwara, I felt empty. So much of our generation, when they go to the Gurdwara, they feel empty. They don't feel that connection with Maharaj. We matha take, it's a routine, we're programmed it, Maya Pao, matha take ko, bang your head on. This is what people used to say, kids say this to us, bang your head on the floor, sit down, have prasad, have langar and we're back home.
It's true, yeah.
And this is the reason that we set up Seek to Inspire, Basics, other Pracharak organizations to reconnect our generations. My parents, grandparents came to this country 50, 60 years ago. They spent so long integrating into society, kind of selling out their own culture to all, mixing our culture with Western culture. Nothing wrong with that, but if you lose your roots, you lose your identity. And for so many generations, maybe 2 or 3 generations, we've lost our roots. And what happened was, when we sat down with so many people talking about this, and especially the older generation, when they said, look, we spent so many years, 30 ਸਾਲ ਲਾਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ 20 ਸਾਲ ਲਾਤੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਾਹਰ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਣ ਆ. But what we forgot was, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਬੈਠੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕੌਣ ਆ.
Totally agree with you.
Who's going to tell them that this ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਆ. So what we decided to do was can reconnect those people. I remember having a conversation with Jagraj Singh, myself, Sukraj Singh, and a couple of other team members with Jagraj Singh in London. In about 2012, talking about this when he came to see us at one of our programs there. And, it was through that Sunny was one of the people, you could say, example of the people Jagraj or Seek to Inspire are trying to engage, trying to bring them back into Sikhi.
Sunny's not here to defend himself, so we can't speak.
I'm not attacking him anyway.
But obviously,
Tiga the presenter of that. So there's many young people out there. Many young people out there. We organise camps throughout. We organise camps. We take people to India to reconnect them back with their roots, back in India, showing them their stans, our gurus were, showing them the roots, the paths that our gurus took. Especially when it comes back to, there was a narrative, there was a, you could say hidden agenda, always trying to push the work that the presenter's been trying to do for the last couple of years, and it is trying to target certain young people to stand out, and it makes them feel uncomfortable. I think in society today, it's really bad to say Sikhs feel that they need to defend themselves when someone talks to them about Sikh. Say, well, I'm a Sikh, I don't have to be like you. No, we don't have to be like, we don't have to have the star, we don't have to have this, we don't have to. No one's pushing, it's your own journey.
Definitely.
The first step of Sikhi is realising who you are. And the last step is falling in Maharaji's charan. And that's your target. And everybody's on a different path, on a different level, on a different route. No one's in a race. You could say it's a marathon. Jinna lamba sama lagda, it's up to you. But by people getting defensive, and certain people, and even with the presenter of that program, we see that so much in society today, within our own families, with my own cousins, that people get on the defensive and they want to attack and find negative parts. And we always, jokes about us sort of saying drinking, also this, doing that. People look for negativity, just to attack, just to make them feel better that I don't really take that path.
Yeah, just to bit of feedback in there before you elaborate. Like some of the words I use, and we were on about buzzwords earlier: thuggish behaviour, thuggery, extremism, radicalisation. All of these words were used. Nobody's been ever convicted of these in the UK by any of these activists. So how can these words be used? How can, like they're talking about people protesting thuggery. Thuggery, nobody's been charged for thuggery. Nobody's been charged for harassment. Nobody's been charged for any radicalisation.
Look, there's a way sometimes people perceive.
Yeah.
It's a perception, It's a perception. We put people into categories, banda, this is how I see them, Sikh, Sikh, as I said previously, people are in different levels. And even people defend as a Sikh Rayat Maryada. Sikh Rayat Maryada is a personal, I had conversations, I was listening earlier as well, and some of the posts that were up with, certain people said that Rayat Maryada needs to change, we need to change. Yes, there's certain things that we could adapt in there, but that is a straight message from our Guru. So you're saying
Exactly.
what our Guru's laid down, that needs to change. There's other parts, because the Rehat Maryada is a guide, is your daily guide, a personal journey, that you take to get closer to your Guru.
Definitely.
We use the word code of conduct because that's how we feel it's translated, but it's actually a personal journey. Your Rehat and your Maryada is your personal journey to your Guru. Maharaj Ji says himself, Rehat pyari mujhko hai, that your route to me, that path that you take is more precious than you himself. So these categories and these words that people use, it's for them to feel comfortable. And again, I did see that in an article that someone sent to me today. The first thing people picked out, the buzzword they picked out from that documentary was extremist. कि एक सिख जो अपनी मर्यादा में रहिंदा आ वो एक्सट्रीम बन गया. This is गलत है ना. And as a Sikh community, doesn't matter what level you're at, a Sikhi है ना, दस्तार बनी है नहीं बनी है, we need to condemn that. We definitely need to condemn it in all our Gurugaras. कि एक Sikh, just because the way he lives, and there's so many organizations out there saying people are using bully tactics to do this, do that. Groups saying someone's forced me to do this, do that. But if you are living at that pure, if you're taking people away from their journey to Maharajana and you're diluting it, then people are going to speak up against you because you're going away from the mainstream of Sikhi.
Definitely.
And the Sikhi that the sings, the Najwan standing up, that is mainstream Sikhi. Anything around that is diluted paths.
Of course. And from Seek to Inspire, you've got a camp coming up. Give the dates, let people know how they can enroll. And this is where you're going to learn about your Maryada. You're going to learn about these conversations take place at these venues, at these events.
One of the big messages that came out from that documentary, because there were certain messages, Jagraj, the snippets of Jagraj's journey into Sikhi. And one of his turning points was attending a camp. Going to that Sangat. Sangat is a big aspect of Sikhi. Sitting around people, the same one, even if you don't, there's so many people in this group here, so many people sitting in this room, and there's certain people here that I might not agree with, where they stand or where I stand, because we're all different.
Definitely.
But one thing we got in common, because he's Sikh, Sikh ek duje na pyar hona chahiye, pen prada, the word we always use, ekta, I hate that word. And I always say pyar hona chahiye, Ekta, once you get ekta, that one, you get ekta, ekta, when you use the word ekta, you're saying there's differences. We're putting those differences to the side to sit together. But with the pyar, there's no differences.
That's it.
So the camp's coming up in May, end of May. Applications are open. And if you want to experience that journey that Jagraj was talking about, there's a camp coming up, Seek to Inspire camp. You go to our website, you can sign up, and you can experience that journey. It doesn't matter what level you're at, there's going to be people there doing talks, people there to have discussions with, and they can share their own experience and help you on your way.
Yeah, definitely. I've done talks at Seek to Inspire camp, and I found Sangha there amazing. It's positive. I help do seva at night. Wake up some of the sevadars who are on early duties and stuff. So it's really important that we all come to it. Make sure you have a look at Seek to Inspire online. Have a look at some of the positive work, some of the influential prachar they're doing online. There's Sukhwinder Singh next to you, and Jasprit from Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy, and Boss, bring Jasprit in as a Naujawan activist, university student. You've done a lot, in a short space of being in the UK. Just give the Sangat some of the views
Just before we go to Jasprit Singh, I think Paji touched on something when he was talking about, assimilating kind of into the culture, which is something that I think we've seen across the older generation. And I think for them it was really about survival and something that they kind of had to do to kind of survive through the day. It might have been, I don't know, whatever it is that they had to do to just get money and survive and provide for their family. And I think for us, many of us anyways, I can't speak for everyone, but many of us have a privilege where we're not just trying to survive through the day, and we can actually thrive through Sikhi, which is amazing. And I think camps are really something at the center of that. So we have Jasprit Singh, who does a lot of seva at camps. So Jasprit Singh, do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ
ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਮੈਂ ਜੀ ਦੋ ਤਿੰਨ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਛੋਟੀਆਂ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੂੰਗਾ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸ਼ਮਸ਼ੇਰ ਭਾਜੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਭਾਜੀ ਹੁਣ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਹੁਣੇ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਛੇੜੀ ਗੱਲ, 3 ਚੱਕਰ ਬਣਾ ਲਓ ਆਪਣੇ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗਵਲਾ ਚੱਕਰ ਆ ਉਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਦਾਵਾ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਆ, ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਮਨਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਬੜੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹ ਸਮਝਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ। ਤੇ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਗਲਾ ਚੱਕਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਆ, ਪੰਥ ਨਾਲ ਪਿਆਰ ਆ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਪੰਥ ਦੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰਦੇ। ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਦਾਵਾ ਫੋਰ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ, ਜਦੋਂ ਸੋ ਕਾਲਡ ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨ ਦੀ ਜੰਗ ਚੱਲੀ, ਕਈ ਬੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਗੋਰਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹਿੰਦੂਤਵ ਦਾ ਏਜੰਡਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਰਾਂ ਕਰੀਏ। ਕਈ ਬੰਦੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਆਪਾਂ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਦੇਸ਼ ਆਜ਼ਾਦ ਕਰੀਏ। ਪਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ ਬੱਬਰ ਅਕਾਲੀ ਵੀ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਿਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਦਾਵਾ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਰਿਹਾ। ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਦਾਵਾ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਆ। ਤੇ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਦੂਜਾ ਸਰਕਲ, ਦੂਜਾ ਚੱਕਰ। ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਬੜਾ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਆ, ਮੈਂ ਹਜੂਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੋਂ ਕਥਾ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਪਿਆ ਸੀ। ਇੱਕ ਸਿੰਘ ਗਿਆ ਕਿਸੇ ਮੁਗਲ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਕੇ ਖਾਲਸੇ, ਤੇ ਗਿਆ ਮੱਥਾ ਟੇਕਣ, ਤੇ ਖਾਲਸਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਕੋ ਖਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਕੋ, ਤਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤਨਖਾਹ ਲੱਗੂਗੀ। ਤੇ ਉਹ ਗਏ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੇਵਾ ਕੀਤੀ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਨ ਹੋਏ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸ਼ੁੱਧ ਆ, ਗੁਰੂ ਕੇ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਆਓ ਜੀ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰੋ। ਪਰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਸਰਕਲ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਇਨਵੋਲਵਡ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਬਟ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਜ਼ਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਕਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ। ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਫੋਰ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਚੋਂ ਆਇਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੁਛ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ, ਅਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਗਲਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਉੱਚਾ ਸੀ, ਅਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਕੋਈ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਸੁਣੇ, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ 'ਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਦਾਵਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਆ ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਵੱਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਰੋਕਾਰ ਕੀ ਆ, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਨੋਰਮਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਸੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਚੱਕਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਰੋਕਾਰ ਕੀ ਆ, ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ। ਅਤੇ ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਦਾਵਾ ਰੱਖਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਵੀ ਆ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸਮਝਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਨੋਰਮਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ ਕਿ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਚੱਲਦੀਆਂ ਆਈਆਂ ਆ। ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਮਸਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਹੱਲ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰੀਏ। ਕਈ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਬੰਦਾ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਹੱਲ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦਾ, ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਮੁੱਕਾ ਮੱਕੀ ਹੋਏ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਪਰ ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਆਈਦਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ, ਉਹੀ ਪਿਆਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਪਿਆਰ ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਆ। ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਭਾਈ ਫੌਜਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਹਰੇਕ 40-50 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ 'ਤੇ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ। ਜਦੋਂ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਵਧਿਆ, ਕੌਮ ਘੱਲੂਘਾਰਿਆਂ ਵੱਲ ਵਧੀ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੁਣ ਸਮਝਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ। ਅਤੇ ਦੂਜੀ ਗੱਲ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੂੰਗਾ ਕਿ ਯੰਗ ਸਿੱਖ ਐਂਡ ਪ੍ਰਾਊਡ, ਇਹ ਬੜਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ 'ਤੇ। ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗਾ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਜਦੋਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਆਉਂਦਾ, ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਵਿਚਰਦਾ, ਮੈਂ ਯੰਗ ਅਤੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਆ, ਕਿ ਇਹ 'ਤੇ ਵੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਹੋਣਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਲੱਗੇ ਹਰੇਕ ਦ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟੀਕੋਣ ਤੋਂ, ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਪਰਸਪੈਕਟਿਵ ਤੋਂ। ਹੁਣ ਭਾਜੀ ਹੁਣੀ ਬੜੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਰਸਪੈਕਟਿਵ ਤੋਂ, ਹੁਣ ਐਕਟਿਵਿਜ਼ਮ ਪਰਸਪੈਕਟਿਵ ਤੋਂ, ਈਵਨ ਲਾਈਕ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਐਂਗਲ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਫਿਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਲਈ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਿਕਲਦਾ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਕੋਈ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ। ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕੋ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੂੰਗਾ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੱਗੀ, ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਕੈਂਪ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਰਿਲੇਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਹਾਂ। ਸਿੱਖੀ ਕੈਂਪ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ, ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਬੌਸ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਕੈਂਪ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਭਾਈ ਜਗਰਾਜ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਵੀ ਆਏ ਸੀਗੇ, ਇੱਕ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਨਾ ਇਨਕਿਊਬੇਸ਼ਨ ਸਪੇਸ ਆ, ਇੰਨਾ ਪਿਆਰ, ਇੰਨਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਛ ਹੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਮਿਲਦਾ। ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਕਰ ਕਰਦਾ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦਾ, ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਚ ਕਦੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਕੈਂਪ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ। ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਸੱਚੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਾਂ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਿਆਰ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਦਾ, ਆਪਣੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਜੋ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਖਸ਼ੀ, ਉਹਦਾ ਅਹਿਸਾਸ ਹੋਇਆ। ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਲਈ ਮੈਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਹਾਂ। ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਵਧੀਆ ਦਿਖਾਈ। ਪਰ ਹੋਰ ਭਾਜੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਨੰਦ ਕਾਰਜ ਦਾ ਮਸਲਾ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਮਝਾਇਆ ਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਉਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੂੰਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਆ, ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕੋ, ਸਿੰਘ ਸਜੋ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਲਈ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਪੰਥ ਲਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਰੋਕਾਰ ਕੀ ਆ, ਕਿ ਇਹ ਨਿੱਕੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਆ। ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਜੁੜੂਗੇ, ਉਹ ਨਿੱਕੇ ਹਿੰਟ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਬਖਸ਼ਦੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਿਕਲਦਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ। ਆਪਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਬਥੇਰੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਮਸਲੇ ਸੁਲਝਾਉਂਦੇ ਆਏ ਆ, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਪਿੱਛੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਕੇ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਥੇਰੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਮਸਲੇ ਸੁਲਝਾਏ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਕੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ। ਪਰ ਜਗਰਾਜ ਭਾਜੀ, ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਤੋਂ ਆਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ, ਮੈਂ ਬੜਾ ਨਰਵਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ, ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ, ਅਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਚੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਅਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਰਹਿਣਾ। ਅਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਸੁਖ ਅਮਰਦਾਸ, ਉਹਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਗਰਾਜ ਭਾਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਬਖਸ਼ੇ। ਸੁਖ ਅਮਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਨੀ, ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕੁਛ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੇ। ਫਿਰ ਬੜੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਭਾਜੀ ਨੇ ਐਂਟੀ ਕਨਵਰਜਨ ਸੀਰੀਜ਼, ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ, ਈਵਨ ਜਪਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਐਕਸੈਕਟਰਾ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ। ਫਿਰ ਕੌਨਫੀਡੈਂਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਯੰਗ ਸਿੱਖ ਐਂਡ ਪ੍ਰਾਊਡ। ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨੌਲੇਜ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਜਦੋਂ ਭਾਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਰਮ ਯੋਰਸੈਲਫ ਵਿਦ ਨੌਲੇਜ, ਉਹ 'ਚੋਂ ਫਿਰ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਿਕਲਦੀ ਹੈ। ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਹੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੂੰਗਾ ਕਿ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੀਏ, ਅਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਕ੍ਰਿਟੀਕਲ ਆਈਜ਼ ਨਾਲ ਦੇਖੀਏ। ਪਰ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਨਿੰਦੀ ਰਹੀਏ, ਪਰ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨੌਲੇਜ ਬਖਸ਼ੀ ਆ, ਉਹਦੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ, ਕਿ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਵੇ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਕੇ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਕੌਣ ਆ। ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਆਹੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੂੰਗਾ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
Sukhwinder Singh from Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy. A bit more input from yourself, what your organisation does, how positive, active work you do in the UK as well.
So it's about getting Guru Sahib Ji's message to our youth and whoever wishes to obtain that. From the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy, there's various classes that we run from all the way up from Scotland to parts of East London. There's classes going on weekly basis where the youth can come in and they can learn how to read Gurbani, which is very important. Don't let people just kind of tell you little bits here and there. It's very important because Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj himself taught the Gursikhs how to read, pronounce Gurbani and the meanings of Gurbani. So now we have that. There's no room for people's interpretation because we have that from Guru Sahib himself. And we try and encourage our youth to come and engage with us and learn and be able to read Gurbani for themselves. So that they can read Guru Sahib's message firsthand, right? And also about history, we teach them about Itihas and also Gurbani Vichar, where people can come and also do Vichar of Gurbani. And people have those, questions about what is Anand Karaj or what does the lava mean? Well, there is enough available out there now where we don't have to go to these, so-called intellectuals who have absolutely no knowledge. They can't even speak Punjabi properly, and then they are commenting on what the lava mean or anything like that. They probably don't even know who, who wrote the lava. So there is that crucial part where you need to come and learn about what Guru Sahib's actual message is. And then Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy will try and do that and give that to Sangat. So what I also wanted to say was that it's just for those people and those organizations and those channels is that it's getting a bit boring. What you keep coming up with, it keeps it's getting boring because I with Maharaj's Kirpa get an opportunity to go around various universities to do talks. And we had a debate, last talk I went to in Nottingham, we had a debate about the interfaith marriage. And there was about 25 students sitting there. And out of the 25s, there were 2 who were a little bit kind of not sure about whether we should have an Anand Karaj at the Gurdwara Sahib or not, right? But even then, after the debate, everybody was in agreement that if you want to have an interfaith marriage, yeah, you can do whatever you like. However, when it comes to having that in a Gurdwara Sahib and having an Anand Karaj done, that is a no-no. So the people, our youth understand everything, and those people are like to just say, look, there's so much positive that you heard, why don't you make a documentary on that, right? So that you can represent the actual young Sikhs and proud, right? Rather than you have to hide behind that line and then push your propaganda. Because people are not stupid, people are not thick, right? People know what these medias, how they play, right? Don't just take us for idiots, because people are not idiots, right? Most of us, we pay our TV license, right? And we expect better. All that money that are giving you, your channel, right? And then your channel turns around and then uses my to try and demonize my community. It's just to look at that. I'm remembering Maharaj's quote that Bhagta ta sahariya jod kade na aaya. That these Sansari people, they're so engrossed in Maya, in worldly vava, that they want to be someone, right? They're nobodies, but they want to be someone. They said they're so sort of starved of it that they'll go to any lengths. They'll stab their own community in the back. Doesn't matter, as long as they get up there. And those channels, they're just using that and trying to feed into the bigger agendas of sort of the state's trying to control the way we should be, and what deems as a good Sikh and what's not, right? So please, so to these channels, stop using my money to kind of fabricate and then get people. And those the other thing is this organization got a lot of money, right? And then when they bought those two sort of so-called protesters, right, they could have hired better actors, to be honest with you, right? Koi change bande lab lende anne ko paisa inna aa, but sort of it's just like so blatant. The guy who's speaking, I'm like, seriously, the editor is sitting there and watching this and going, yeah, that'll do, that's pretty, sort of confirming, let's just go with that. So please, within the Sikh community, there's a lot of good work that has been going on. So why don't you actually go to actually practicing Sikh who is Sikh and proud, and do a documentary? Then you can see the real picture rather than you have to fabricate something.
Thank you, Suki. If you could pass the mic to Tish. We want to bring Tish in. Tish Kaur from Cause Legal.
Hi, yeah, I just had a few more points to make. From a legal context, we don't have enough legal precedent for Sikhs that support Sikhs. We have the Offensive Weapons Act that protects us in keeping our Qurbans, but we need more cases, more legal precedent to support us. When we have cases where, for example, Sikhs are being discriminated, we have to do legal research before we go into court, and part of that legal research is to find case law, and we don't have enough case law in favour of Sikhs. We need more of these. Not only that, but for example, the West Midlands Police, they've breached their PACE code of conduct on numerous occasions. For example, the raids with the 5 Singhs, they released the names of the 5 Singhs to the Indian media, and according to their code of conduct, they're not supposed to do that unless they've charged a suspect. That's the time when they're allowed to release the names. Secondly, I don't know if anyone in the audience remembers the 2015 protest outside Indian High Commission, the Rajwana protest. It was quite big, and the police used unreasonable force against Singhs. The stars got ripped off their heads, their Qurbans got taken off them, and what happened in the end? Singhs got arrested. They brought in horses, police on horses, everybody got kettled in. What happened in the end? The police commissioner apologized for what had happened at that protest, but what use is that? Because what actions were taken against the police for doing that? We need more people to come forward. If they've been targeted by the police, you've been harassed, you can sue the police, you've got a civil action against the police, and more people need to speak out. If you don't speak out, you're not going to get justice. I would say if you are being discriminated or targeted, get in touch with us, Cause Legal, and we can help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tish. So we actually spoke a little bit about the police and different legalities around that. And one gentleman in the documentary actually spoke about his experience with the police, referring to an event that was protested again by Sikh Nojwan, whereby there was going to be some Vaisakhi celebrations in a mosque. Deepa Baji, I don't know if you want to touch on that a little bit.
No problem, I don't mind talking about that. There's a charity called Hope Not Hate had arranged an event apparently. And this wasn't public on anyone. This is a government organisation, remember this. They arranged this Vaisakhi in a mosque event. And now if you look at it in perspective, would we celebrate Christmas in a Gurdwara Sahib, Eid in a Gurdwara Sahib? It wouldn't happen. So the way it was marketed, it wasn't on their website for some apparent reason, but it was sent on WhatsApp directly to certain Sikh activists in the hope, and these are the activists that have told us this, in the hope that Sikhs would turn up to a mosque to kick off. And when I found out about this,
who was sending the messages?
it was sent direct from random WhatsApp messages, but direct, it wasn't out online. And the activists that were approached came to us, and we had a dialogue and we spoke, and we categorically said nobody can go to nobody's face of faith to kick off, protest, anything like that. You know, there was dialogue, and that was happened. Anyway, a lot of conversations were taking place within the community up until the event, and then it got cancelled. And on the mainstream media last night, on this documentary, they said that the police wasn't involved in anything. But these are complete lies, because a activist was cautioned and arrested and interviewed on some activism that happened regarding some of the allegations that were made on this documentary. So to say on national TV or mainstream media that the person who's running this charity didn't go to the police, yes, you did. You completely lied on mainstream media. An activist did go under police caution and gave an interview, and there was no further action. It's really interesting how you lied on mainstream media. Now, Vaisakhi in the mosque event, as we talked, and then afterwards people started marketing it as an interfaith event, but it should have been put out there before activists were directly approached, and these are government bodies doing this. And you know, it's really interesting why, if on the rise they're saying Sikh extremism, we're only a minor 3% out of a massive list, why are we being targeted as activists? And I want to take it to the audience. We've got a few minutes left, last 3-4 minutes. Anyone, I'll bring some shade into this maybe, or anyone else who wants to speak on this, Bhavinder Singh, anyone who wants to speak on these events, it'll be fantastic to get what the audience opinion is on Sikh activists being targeted in the UK.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So firstly, the show is going great, and there's so much Sangha tuning in across the world. What's happening is, the UK over the past few years, as there's a lot of Panthik Sevadars here who run their respected organizations, it's been amazing. The feedback from Canada, America, back in Punjab, everyone's eyes have been on the UK. Because where in other countries Sikhi has been diluted or become a bit wishy-washy, if we use that word term, but here is where everyone's held it down. And we've kept, the Gur Sikhs have kept Sikhi on lock. And now why is all of this happening is because the forces out there don't want to see this. They don't want to see that when Rance Bhais are happening, the Darbar Sahibs are fully packed and everybody is getting together in remembrance of the Shaheeds. When there's Barsis happening, when there's big Samagams happening, that all of the Khalsa Panth in the UK is united at one place. And it's not only this, listening to Kirtan Katha, but jithe Byadbi di gal hondi hai, wherever Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Maharaj's bachans are twisted, then this Khalsa stands up in the UK. They're not like other countries where they won't mind. Why? Because Guru Sahib Ji says, Jab laga Khalsa rahe niyara, stays distinct. Yes, Guru Sahib Ji has told us that God is inside all, and we believe that. We do that, we serve langar. But it doesn't mean that we get trodden over and washed away. Maharaj said, Jab laga Khalsa rahe niyara, tab lag tej diyo mein sara. Until that time, the Khalsa remains distinct, separate from everybody else. Until then I'll be with you. And that's the problem that everybody sees. It's not a problem, it's kirpa here. That all of these Gursikhs, these Jathebandiya, these protesters, all these activists, I'd say these Gurmukh Pyare who are blessed by Guru Gobind Singh Ji, who have the Anak alive inside them, and they haven't gone Sharam Dharam ka Dera Dur, they haven't fallen into that category. The ones who are still awake, and they go because they're not going to see a Byadbi happening in Guru Granth Sahib Ji's presence. They are the ones being questioned. And it doesn't matter, kal banda uthe, kalu uthe, parso uthe, any uthi jana ya. Ultimately, jehdi Singha di seva ya, bhena di seva ya, any kari jani ya, te mara da ehi ya. Like if you look back at history, right, Harnakash and Bhagat Prahlad ji were in the same family. And Akal Purkh Vaheguru did the kirpa, hun ethe vi ehi gala chaldi ya. We can't say Harnakash and Bhagat Prahlad ji, but one side you got Gurmukh Pyara, he's being in seva to spread Sikhi across the world. और दूजे पासे तो भरा साडी सारे ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਦੀ ਬੇਇੱਜ਼ਤੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਦੇਸ਼ ਪ੍ਰਦੇਸ਼ ਚ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਟੀਵੀ ਔਨ ਕੀਤਾ MSN ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਖੋਲੀ ਆ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਇਹਦੀ ਫੋਟੋ ਆਈ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੇ ਇਹੀ ਖੇਡ ਆ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਕਿ ਭਾਈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਣੀ ਆ and all the sevadars like we're gonna say on TV there's nothing to be shy of, nothing to be afraid of. Deepapa ji over the last 5-6 years through Sikh Youth UK has changed the UK, changed Guru Nanak Gurdwara Smedic. ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਮਾਗਮ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਜ਼ਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ. Sikh to Inspire have done their job. ਕਿੰਨਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਮਰ ਛਕਾਇਆ, ਕਿੰਨਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੈਂਪਾਂ ਤੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗਏ ਆ. This is going to keep on happening and the activism isn't going to stop because some Tom, Dick or Harry stands up tomorrow and tries to close it, chalda rehna hai, and the Khalsa is always going to be there roaring. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
We've got the last minute on the show. Before we finish off, I just want to read out the legalities of KTV. The views and opinions expressed in the following program, in the program that's just happened, are those of the speakers or presenters, do not necessarily reflect nor constitute the views and opinions held by KTV. KTV is a messenger and a sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the completeness of the information provided. You have a complaint about something or find your content is being used incorrect, please contact KTV prior to making a claim. I wish that documentary last night said this as well, but you know. Finish off with Jaspreet and the audience. I want to thank everyone as well myself, but I'll let Jaspreet Benji finish off.
Yep, thank you all so much for tuning into this show. Thank you to our callers as well for calling in, taking the time to ask questions, and thank you to everyone here in the audience, and thanks to KTV for having us. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.